I'll just start over the meeting. I'm Angela Saunders. I'm from Democratic Services. I'm the committee's clerk today. I've just got a few things to go over before we start. So good afternoon. Welcome to this virtual meeting of the Licensing Act Subcommittee. Before consideration of today's business, I will outline the protocols for the meeting. Today's meeting is being live streamed to the public via Microsoft Teams and is also being recorded. When members are speaking, they may choose to use their video. If the Council's live stream fails during the meeting and we cannot share the proceedings, the meeting will be adjourned so that access can be restored. If the issue cannot be resolved, the Chairman will halt the meeting and the remaining business will be concluded at a future date. If a member experiences a technical issue, the Chairman will adjourn for a short period to try and re-establish their connection. As members are called to speak, the Chairman will remind you to switch on your microphone. If for some reason you cannot be heard, the Democratic Officer will advise you. The vote will be taken by roll call and the results announced by the Democratic Services Officer. We have public representation at the meeting today and they'll be joining the meeting by telephone. To confirm the procedure for today's meeting is that the members of the committee who wish to speak on an item should just either use their raise the hand facility or just ask the Chairman if they can speak. I'll just ask the committee members that are present to confirm their name and their electoral division. So I'll start with Councillor Hayward first of all.
Good afternoon. My name's Sandra Hayward. I'm the Cornwall Councillor for a Gover division in St Austell.
Councillor Biscoe.
Hi, I'm Bert Biscoe. I am the member for Boscawen in Truro.
Thank you. Councillor Evans.
I'm Geoffrey Evans and I'm the Cornwall Councillor for Falmouth Arwennick.
Okay, we've got some officers present too. We have Linda Edmonds from Licensing and Mark Andrews from Legal. So the first item on the agenda is election of chairman for the meeting. Do we have any nominations, please?
I'd like to propose Councillor Hayward.
I'll second that.
Thank you. So I'll just do a quick roll call. Councillor Hayward. For Councillor Evans.
For.
And Councillor Biscoe.
For.
That's carried. So I'll hand the meeting over to you now, Councillor Hayward.
Thank you very much, Angela. Thank you. If members could shut their cameras off for the moment and mute themselves, please, and then we'll have you back on when you want to speak. That's lovely. Thank you. Welcome this afternoon to this meeting. We're going to be looking up. Do I have any apologies for absence? I haven't had any, Angela.
No, there are no apologies.
Okay. And declarations of interest? No. Okay, I've not had anything. So we're looking at item number 4 on the agenda, which is the grant of a premises license for Ganesha Indian Cuisine, 3 Turf Street, Bodmin, and it's on pages 1 to 14. And I gather we have Mr. Paulus here, who is the applicant. Mr. Paulus, are you represented at all, or are you just here on your own?
I'm on my own.
Okay, thank you. Have I pronounced your surname correctly?
Yeah, that's correct, yeah.
Thank you, thank you. And we also have Councillor Cooper and Councillor Brown from Bodmin Town Council, is that correct?
Chairman, I've had to mute the other users because there's some background noise, but I think they've just managed to unmute.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Brown. Right, Mr. Paulus, what's going to happen is the licensing officer, Linda Edmonds, will outline why you've been brought here today, and then I'll ask you to say something about it. I will also then invite am I going to invite Councillor Cooper and Councillor Brown to speak?
Not a problem. Sorry, it keeps on muting me, so yeah, that's not a problem.
Oh, right. That's okay. I just wanted to let you know the process.
Yeah, that's simple. I understand. I've read through it, so I kind of get the outline of it.
Good, that's fine. So then the members of the committee will ask you questions, and you'll have a final chance to sum up at the end.
Yeah, no problem at all.
Okay, Mr. Paulus, I'll send it straight over to Linda then for you to outline the case, please. Not the case, the application.
Thank you, Chair. Application has been received from Jacob Paulus for the grant of a premises licence in respect of Ganesha Indian Cuisine at 3 Turf Street in Bodmin. The premises is described as a takeaway with delivery service. The application under consideration seeks to licence the supply of alcohol for the hours as detailed on page 3 of the agenda, together with the hours the premises are proposed to be open to the public, also on page 3. Comprehensive steps have been provided by the applicant to promote the 4 licensing objectives, and these are set out on pages 3, 4 and 5 of the agenda. Representation has been received from Bodmin Town Council on behalf of Bodmin Town Councillors as other persons, and details of these appear on pages 6 and 7 of the agenda. No representations have been received from responsible authorities. There is a plan of the premises itself provided at Appendix 1 on page 13, and also a location plan on page 14, where the premises is identified as number 3 by an asterisk. Members are aware that each application must be considered on its own merits, and following the hearing shall determine whether the application should be granted in the terms sought, granted subject to additional conditions, granted but modified conditions, granted subject to restrictions, or refused, giving reasons for any decision reached. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Paulus,
Yes.
would you like to have something to say now?
Yes, I would. After the actual application that put through, obviously we're a takeaway that relies on delivery service. Considering the current COVID situation, I am aware that their the premises license could be granted for collection only. In the current situation that we're in, we're doing about 90% deliveries. I don't really see any issues with delivering the alcohol, considering that the customers will be ID'd on the door if they look under the age of under 25, so obviously challenge 25. It's basically doing the same as any other supermarket when they do delivery, and also another local, obviously, restaurant, Virage, that are doing alcohol delivery as well. As to encouraging drinking, and I am aware that people want to reduce the drinking of alcohol in towns, I don't believe that ordering 2 bottles of beer at premium price is going to encourage alcohol consumption in the town. And also, obviously, a food sale would be a part of the license, I would guess, as we're not just trying to deliver alcohol, we're trying to make the sale of the food and alcohol as an add-on extra. Yeah, that's it, pretty much.
Okay. Angela, what's best to do now is to bring in the 2 councillors from Bodmin, or shall I go straight to questions and bring the councillors in afterwards?
The procedures are at the front of your agenda, but now it's we have questions for the applicant from members.
Okay, that's fine, thank you. I'm struggling. I've just had to swap computers very briefly. I hope that it wasn't too bad. One just gave up the ghost on me. Councillors Biscoe and Evans, have you got any questions for Mr. Paulus at this stage?
Yes, please, Chairman, if I may.
Yes, please, Councillor Biscoe.
Mr. Paulus, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I note from a quick dash around the old Google map that there
Right.
are number 2 and number 4. They appear to be residences. Is that the case? Yes.
Yes.
And have you had contact with them about this proposal?
I spoke to number 4, which I believe she was on the town council before. I believe her name's Maggie Danham. I spoke to her about it before. She uses me as a customer. I don't believe that delivering alcohol off the premises is going to have any impact on my neighbours.
Right.
And there will be no consumption, obviously, on the premises. We're not a restaurant, so
Right.
I I mean, I don't understand how that would be an issue.
No,
with them.
I'm just asking.
All right, yeah, not a problem. I mean, you know, obviously I'm in contact with both parties and I'm on a very good basis with them. I haven't had any issues with them personally, and I can see how it really would impact them. But, you know, I'm more than welcome to speak to them. I just didn't think it was a part of the licensing. Okay.
And also you mentioned in your presentation
yes.
that you is it your intention to tie alcohol sales to food sales?
Or my intention is, if someone orders food, they'll be able to order. Obviously, we're not planning on selling whiskey and vodka. We're not planning on selling spirits. This is not what this is about. I want Curry to be accompanied by Cobra, Kingfisher beer, just a normal sort of beer that you can buy with in a curry house.
Okay.
Yes, it is. It's to tie it in. So it's not to advertise it with, but really, it's to. Yeah.
Sorry, really what you're after is something that you might describe in any other way as being a sort of a restaurant type takeaway license.
No. Basically, what I'm after is if someone orders a curry, that they'll be able to order a beer, but without ordering any food, they won't be able to order any alcohol.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Biscoe. Councillor Evans, do you have any questions?
No questions.
Okay, thank you. Right, has anybody else got any other questions for the applicant? Mark, did you wish to come in at all? Here, or are we going to wait a little while?
No, I'm fine, thank you, Chair.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, so I'm trying to read this and work with one screen as well. It's a bit of a pickle at the minute. So I believe, Angela, I'm going to ask Councillor Cooper and Councillor Brown now to speak.
Yes, that's right.
Thank you.
Ask questions.
That's all right. I need an extra pair of eyes, I think, somewhere. Right, who's going to kick off? Councillor Cooper, would you like to kick off? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So Bodmin Town Council considered this application based on our charge to create a safe society for everybody, every age group. We felt that the abundance of alcohol was already sufficient within the town, and that just providing more outlets, particularly to be delivered to a home address, didn't fit with the overall strategy that we see as part of what the Town Council and Cornwall Council should be doing. If I might draw your attention to the Cornwall Alcohol Strategy 2016 to 2019, Taking Responsibility for Alcohol, which is a document which was created in partnership with Cornwall Council and Safer Cornwall. It cites some quite distressing statistics, particularly when it comes to specific problems that we experience in Cornwall, and we hope that obviously a sensible approach in not granting this licence will help us to redress some of the negatives that come out of the overconsumption of alcohol. If I could just point out that the document states that just over a quarter of adults in Cornwall are estimated to drink above the recommended level, and that 7% or over 26,000 are drinking higher than risk levels, drinking more than double the recommended levels in addition to the estimated 19% who are binge drinkers. Cornwall has a higher level of high-risk drinkers in our population than the national rate, and a higher proportion of clients entering treatment for drinking more than 1,000 units per month. It's my opinion, and I believe Bodmin Town Council's opinion, that availability plays a large factor in alcohol-driven issues, and creating a situation where alcohol can be delivered just with a flick of an app or at the end of a phone call to late in the evening to be consumed by, and I take the point that the gentleman says that his drivers will check age limits, but I think predominantly from the application details we've seen that taxis may be used to deliver. I'm not 100% confident that the taxi drivers would exercise the same level of governance over this, the age check-in process. At the end of the day, they're just there to deliver and get their fare. So I think it creates more problems than it resolves. And I think if we're to take a responsible approach and pay heed to this document, which is obviously put together by some very learned people, then it would be appropriate for us to take the lead as community representatives and say, actually, we feel that within Bodmin there are plenty of opportunities to obtain alcohol, and that we've reached a point where we really don't need any more. I mean, the document goes on to say how it's directly linked to domestic abuse, to nighttime violence. 70% of assaults result in injury associated with alcohol consumption. And it goes on to say that the overall driving factor that we should bear in mind as responsible local community leaders is that we should use local evidence and put it together and make an emphasis on early intervention and prevention of approaches that see an increase in alcohol-driven antisocial behaviour.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Councillor Brown.
Yeah, I think that's my main concern here is who would be making the deliveries. If it is subcontracted out to local taxi firms, then I'd have to agree with Councillor Cooper in that, you know, what would be the sort of policing of that, if you like, in that taxi drivers are only going to be interested in their fare. They're not at all going to be interested in the the regulatory side. I mean, in principle, I'm sort of comforted, I think, to some extent. If it's just a few beers with a takeaway, then I'd see no issues with that, or I have no issues with that whatsoever. I mean, if it were conditional on the, there's no spirits and such like, then I really don't see a problem. And I think, like most people, a couple of beers with a curry is most welcome. So that's the only issue I have, is one of the delivery. Who will be making the deliveries? If it were, the establishment's own drivers, then we would have to rely on their integrity to ensure that those measures are adopted properly. Other than that, if it's just a few beers, I really don't have an issue.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Thank you. That's very helpful. My councillors, Councillor Evans and Councillor Biscoe, to either of you. Oh, Councillor Biscoe, you have a question for one of the gentlemen?
Could I ask both of you, is this the resolved position of the town council, or is this what you've both said? Is this a sort of a précis of what was said at a meeting, or are they your views personally?
I think it's a combination of both there, really.
I would say that. Sorry, I would say that they are the council's position. It's not the first time we've received an application for alcohol sales. The last one was for a 24-hour alcohol sales, and we objected to that one.
Right.
I think the council's position is that there are abundant sources of alcohol in Bodmin. Where as community leaders we have to make a stance. The community rely on us to take a lead on these things, and again, citing the document that I've just said, the Cornwall alcohol strategy, as community leaders we should draw a line in the sand.
And can I just ask, because Mr. Paulus has been very clear that the takeaway or the delivery orders of alcohol will be directly linked to delivery orders for food, so that basically you'd be buying a package of food and drink. Do you think that's a reasonable sort of approach to take?
I personally think that's absolutely fine, providing it's regulated or controlled properly.
Yeah.
And that's the only concern I've got. I mean, you can go in. I take Councillor Cooper's points absolutely, in that there is only so much booze you want, and I would think this is possibly if you're going to a random order of whatever floats your boat one evening, as opposed to a prepared or planned takeaway, then you probably buy your beers in. I mean, I accept and welcome Mr. Paulus's comment. He's open they admitted its premium prices. So, I think it's on balance. I guess, in support of Councillor Cooper, what I would be seeking from the licensing committee is to possibly impose conditions to this one. In that, if there's no spirits, then I really don't have a problem. And as at my point there, that a couple of beers with a curry, what's wrong with it?
Can I just quickly comment? Is that possible?
Just one moment, Councillor Cooper. Can I just jump in very quickly? Sorry, Councillor Biscoe. So, Councillor Brown, you're asking for a couple of conditions?
Well, I think it's one that Councillor Cooper makes a very good point in that we do have there's a plethora of off-licenses, takeaway or, off-licenses. And here, I think Mr. Paulus, if it is just a few beers or such like with a curry, I really don't have a problem with that. Okay. And I don't think most sensible people would have a problem with that. I think my concern...
Yeah, I need one person at a time, please. Councillor Brown, so one of your conditions would be no spirits and possibly the R25 of the taxi driver or the delivery driver?
We don't use taxi drivers. Just to clarify, I'm sorry to break in. The drivers are employed.
Right, hold it. Mr. Paulus.
That question, and that will always be the case.
I'm sorry, we don't use taxi drivers. We employ the drivers. We have no links to taxi drivers, so I'm not really sure where that comment's coming from because that's false.
Yeah, Chairman, it's Angela from Democratic Services. The applicant will have an opportunity to have the last word in a minute.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Councillor Biscoe, did you wish to come back at all now?
I think good answers from everybody, and I'll maybe no, thank you. I know what I know. No, thank you.
You do. Thank you.
This is Councillor Cooper again. It's just if I could just come back on that one thing there. I see Councillor Brown's point, and I would argue on that point that we would need some guarantees. It would be ever so easy, as has been proven in the press nationally recently, that when the government decided to curtail pub opening to 10 o'clock, large groups of people congregated outside of off-licence premises to continue to purchase alcohol. If it were seen for Cornwall Council and Bodmin Town Council to live up to the undertakings and the recommendations made in the Cornwall Alcohol Strategy 2016 to 2019, I think it would be ever so easy, and I take Mr. Paulus's point that it's food deliveries, but it would be so easy to order a couple of poppadoms and a crate of beer, and that would be my fear. It would be people that maybe at that point, if they were in a licensed premises, the landlord would use his authority to say, actually, chaps, I think you've had quite enough. They would then be able to go and order a couple of poppadoms on the phone and a crate of beer and create havoc in, social housing or any other environment they might be in.
Okay, Councillor Cooper, I think you've had that's quite clear and you've made your point very well. Thank you very much for that. So what I'm going to do, Councillor Evans, did you wish to ask any questions?
Yes, Madam Chairman. I'd like to ask, they have, just to point out, the council, have they got a licensing committee? Did this go before? Some town councils have a licensing committee. Did you have a licensing committee?
No, it went to our planning committee.
Right, and how many of the council is that?
Our planning committee consists of 12.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Councillor Evans. Okay, thank you. Right, so as any of my committee, any of my two councillors, would you like to ask any further questions before I ask Mr. Paulus if he'd like to sum up? No? Okay, Mr. Paulus.
Just come in there, sorry, to pick up on the point Councillor Evans, I believe, made about our licensing committee.
Who's talking now, please?
Councillor Brown, sorry.
Okay.
This was, I think, the concern of the council was unregulated, uncontrolled issue of beer with a takeaway. I think that is the concern. I think what the council would be happy to accept is some sort of control or assurance of control under how this is sold and such like, which Mr. Paulus, I think, is offering that. And I think if it could be limited to the number of beers, again, I don't think any reasonable person would have a problem with a few beers or whatever going with an order.
Okay.
And that's it. But I think, the point there being is that, yes, this was the consensus of the planning committee, that we were concerned about, unregulated sales of drink from a takeaway.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Brown, sorry. Right, so now, Mr. Paulus, it's over to you. If you'd like to sum up, and then what we'll do is after that, we'll go into a discussion. So it's your chance.
Yeah, that's completely fine. I mean, obviously, we don't use taxi drivers, so I don't really know where that's come from. We use employed drivers that are over the age. They will challenge the 25, just like any other supermarket that sells it. Obviously, we plan on selling food and alcohol to accompany the food, not the other way around. We don't want to become off license that just delivers alcohol to the late hours. And also, we deliver to addresses with the postcodes that are stored on our system. So it's not just a random postcode that someone can ring, order 2 poppadoms. They would have to purchase, let's say, 15 or 20 pounds worth of curry before they can purchase alcohol. We're not planning on selling spirits. But one thing I would like to mention is that I spoke obviously to the licensing lady, and she did say that I could have the on-license sales, so I could obviously sell in the shop for collection, but I wouldn't be able to have it delivered. Now, someone can pick up the alcohol and go home and consume it, but they're not able to have it delivered, which in theory they consume it at the same place. They're still going home to consume it. And obviously we'll be charging premium for the alcohol, considering it's a takeaway. And I think really, if you want to tackle the alcohol problem in towns, supermarkets would probably be the best place to start, considering it's very cheap. Wetherspoons was cheap drinking. No one's really going to come to a takeaway and order 20 beers at £5. It's just not going to happen, not in current economic climate. So that's my say on obviously on the matter. So the taxi drivers is false, and I don't really know where that's come from, but that's incorrect information. So just to clarify that side of things. But that's it really. Thank you.
Can I just ask one question of you, Mr.
Yes,
Paulus?
of course.
About the age.
Yes.
For when they're ordering the food and they wish to order some beers as well, do you have anything in place to check the age of the people?
Well, if they order food and the food is delivered and a customer comes to the door and they look under the age, they get ID'd at the door. It's just like going to a supermarket. Do you have any other way of IDing someone when they come to the checkout, or just the age verification like any other place? Same as Asda, when they deliver the food and the alcohol and someone's under the age, they will refuse the sale of alcohol, which we will do also, and we refund the money.
Okay, so that you would use the R25, would you?
Of course. That's a standard across the board.
It is. I just wanted to check that, just to clarify. Thank you very much.
Yeah, not a problem at all.
Okay, so are there any points of clarification that either Councillor Biscoe or Councillor Evans wish to ask anybody at this point? Councillor Biscoe?
Thank you. No, I'm fine, thank you.
You're fine, are you? That's good.
I'm fine.
You are, excellent. So what's going to happen now, we're going to thank everybody for their attendance this afternoon. We are going to go into private session and have legal advice and have a discussion, and we will let your licensing officer know as soon as we've made the decision, and then she will let everyone know today what that decision is.
No problem. So do I hold on the line, or do I just hang up now?
No, you can hang up now, and we'll contact you as soon as we've made that decision.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Thank
Cheers,
you,
bye.
Councillor Cooper and Councillor Brown. And thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. And thank you, Linda.
Chairman, we just need to exclude the press and public. So do you want me to read out the...
I think that's a good idea, yeah. Please.
That resolved that in accordance with the Local Government Act 1972 as amended, the press and public be excluded from the meeting during consideration of the following item of business on the grounds that it would be likely to involve the disclosure of exempt information of the following description, namely information in respect of which a claim to legal professional privilege should be maintained in legal proceedings. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please?
I'll move.
Thank
I'll
you.
second if you like.
Oh,
I'll just
just
do a
come
quick,
in there now.
I'll do a quick roll call. Councillor Biscoe,
Oh, I'm for.
Councillor Hayward,
Or
and Councillor Evans.
Or,
If you bear with me, I'll just wait to get confirmation that the live stream has been paused.
thank you.
Go back to the Isles of Scilly.
So
And
John there now.
Miranda
Chairman,
Angela, it's Mark from Legal Services here.
Bear with me, but the live stream is back on, Mark. Yeah.
Yeah. I just wanted to clarify. Is it helpful if I do the wording for the previous decision rather than you? I know we discussed it, but is it?
Oh yeah. Yeah. If you just want to quickly announce the result for the last one, and then we'll make a start on this one.
Okay. Well, do we want? If we go back into public session first, then we'll do.
Could I have a mover and a seconder?
I'll propose it, Angela.
Yeah.
I'll second.
And Councillor Hayward, are you in agreement with that?
I'm in agreement, yes.
Okay, lovely. Over to you, Mark.
Thank you, Angela. Yeah, it's Mark Andrews from Legal Services here. Just to clarify that the previous application for Ganesha Indian Cuisine Bodmin was granted, subject to an additional condition. The full decision with the reasons for that decision will be published and circulated to the applicant and the other parties within the next few days. Thank you.
Okay, so we're back into open session now. Angela, do you want us to go through the introductions again?
Yeah, I think if the members introduce them again, that would be useful.
Right. So I'm excuse me, I'm Councillor Sandra Hayward. I'm chairing this meeting, and I'm a Cornwall councillor for Gover Division in St Austell. Councillor Biscoe?
Hello, I'm Bert Biscoe. I'm the member for Buscowan in Truro.
Councillor Evans?
I'm Geoffrey Evans. I'm the Cornwall councillor for Falmouth, Arwennick.
Thank you.
Chairman, I'll just let the people that have joined us know who is here officer-wise.
Thank you.
See, there's myself, Angela Saunders. I'm the committee's clerk. We have Mark Andrews from legal, Jess Daniels from licensing, and Miranda Flanagan from environmental protection. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so we have here an application to vary a premises licence for Amy's Kitchen and the Bar of Penventon Nursery at Gwenup in Redruth. So we have Amy Willis. Yeah. Are you right? You're the applicant. Are you? And you have a representative with you, Mr. Morell?
That's correct.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you very much. Are you aware of how the procedure is going to work?
I think so.
Okay. Do you want me to clarify it for you? Are you all right as we go along?
I'm happy as we go along.
Okay, that's fine. So what's going to happen now is our licensing officer, Jess Daniels, is going to outline why you've been brought before us today. So Jess, over to you, please.
Good afternoon, Chair. An application has been received from Amy's Kitchen and Bar Limited for the variation of a premises licence for Amy's Kitchen and Bar, Penventon Nursery, Gwenup, Redruth. The variation is to extend the on and off sales of alcohol from 0900 1800 to 0900 to 0100, and to authorise the provision of recorded music and late night refreshment between 2300 and 0100. The applicant also wishes to remove the Annex 2 conditions attached to the current licence and to replace them with new conditions. These conditions are found on pages 17 and 18 in my report. A representation has been received from Environmental Protection, who consider that the variation may undermine the prevention of public nuisance licensing objective. Their representation is attached as pages 35 and 36 of my report. A representation has been received from another person who also considers the granting of a variation may undermine the prevention of public nuisance licensing objective, and this representation is found on page 37 in my report. The panel must consider whether the steps proposed by the applicants in the operating schedule are adequate for the promotion of the licensing objectives. If so, you must grant the application. Alternatively, you may impose additional conditions that you consider necessary for the promotion of the licensing objectives. If additional conditions would not make the operating schedule adequate and it is necessary for the promotion of the licensing objectives, the application may be refused. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Jess. Okay, members, Councillor Evans, Councillor Biscoe, do you have any questions for the officer? No.
I have no questions.
Thank you, Councillor Evans. Thank you, Councillor Biscoe. So, who's going to speak? Is it Miss Willis or Mr. Morell?
Mr. Morell, happy to speak.
Okay, excellent, Mr. Morell. Would you like to present your application to us, please?
Yes, basically the application is being requested for the occasional evening and function, which may occasionally go on till 1 AM. We requested till that time in the eventuality that it may happen, but it's unlikely to happen on even even on an infrequent basis. It's just to cover all bases, basically. We can't see any genuine reason why we shouldn't open till this hour, and we will be gainfully employing staff once we can open in the evenings. And I think that that's pretty much about it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Morell. Miss Willis, did you wish to add anything to that?
No, I think that covers it.
Okay, right, members, would you like to ask any questions of the applicant or her representation or representative?
Yes, please, Shannon.
Yes, Councillor Biscoe.
I wonder if I could ask, would you expect that the clientele that you would be attracting to your licensed premises, which would be open till 1 o'clock, would be drawn mainly from an area which was accessible by walking, or maybe cycling, but probably not if they're going to drink, or from further afield?
It would be from further afield. The access by foot is not really practical.
Right. So therefore you would
need to have a designated driver, which obviously Amy and myself would promote as any business would.
Right. So essentially your clientele would be arriving and leaving by motorcar.
Yes.
Right. And could I just ask you why, if your intention is that you want the late license for occasional infrequent events, as you put it, why don't you simply use a temporary event notice?
Because I think there's a restriction of only X amount of those in a month. And with Christmas coming, we thought it would be illogical to only have 4 in the month of December or January, for example.
Right.
However, beyond that, I must admit, for 6 months, unless Boris changes his mind, nothing's going to go past 10 anyway for 6 months.
Yes, but we have to think about the length of time that the license is in existence, rather
Sure.
rather than the vagaries of the Prime Minister. So I wondered, therefore, if you would just comment on the notion, because the lady who's objected, who lives close by, is saying that she wouldn't have a problem if you were opening until an earlier hour.
Right. As I say, it's unlikely that we would exceed 11 o'clock on many occasions. We just wanted to cover all bases in case there was a party, a wedding function. And as I say, during Christmas and January, that would be more than what was proposed on a temporary or occasional use. Apologies, I can't remember the exact numbers, but it wasn't what we would expect to be hoping to do.
So, Chairman, I wonder if I might just pose a question for information to the licensing officer.
Okay, yes, please do.
Jessica, I wonder if you could just tell me, is the availability of 10 notices, is that restricted per month or per year?
It is per year, and it's a calendar year. So from January the 1st to December the 31st in any year, 21 days are available to each premises.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Biscoe. Councillor Evans, did you have any questions?
No, Councillor Biscoe's asked what I wanted to ask. Thank you.
Lovely, thank you. Okay, so I've got a couple of environmental officers here. Would either of you like to have anything to say, Miranda or Mark?
Yes, I was going to speak, if that's okay.
Yes, please, Miranda, thank you.
Okay. When considering a licensing application as a consultee and an environmental protection officer, we look at the location of the premises, we look at the character of the area. Is it a commercial area? Is it a residential area? Or an area of mixed use? Is the area a quiet or noisy area? And do these sound levels vary from day and night? We look at the proximity of the application site to residential or a noise sensitive premises, the topography of the area. Is it in a valley or elevated on a hill? Does either party have a direct line of sight? If it is in an established business, we also look at the history. What is its current use? What are the current hours? Once we've considered these, we look at the proposed against any concerns we may have under the prevention of public nuisance. Is the applicant promoting the licensing objectives and undertaking measures to control the adverse effects of noise and disturbance? The applicant has provided two conditions under the prevention of public nuisance, which are on page 17 and 18. Whilst condition 1 is a standard practice, neither condition addresses our concern that 50 patrons can sit on the outside balcony, which is elevated above the nearest residential dwelling and around 25 metres from the dwelling. Noise from these patrons plus 40 patrons inside could be considerable, especially as the evening progresses with alcohol and the daytime sound levels and traffic drops off. The applicant and representative have stated that the outdoor balcony will have a structure to enclose the patrons, but this is not in situ yet. And despite a request for details of the proposed structure, we have no idea of the sound attenuation this structure will provide. Even if the nighttime activities were to be restricted to indoors only, then given that most patrons will arrive or depart the premises either in their own vehicle or a taxi, the second proposed condition comes with difficulties. The car park is a large tarmacked area directly adjacent to a residential dwelling, and in my experience, licensed premises have difficulty trying to keep their customers quiet despite requests to do so. 90 patrons leaving the premises, chatting, laughing, saying goodbye multiple times, car doors slamming, engines starting at 1 a.m. will, whilst not malicious or intentional, will undoubtedly be heard in the neighbouring residential dwellings. In my professional experience, the process of customers leaving is never a quick or quiet activity. The applicant and representative have stated that the variation of hours from 1800 to 0100, Monday to Sunday, is not something they intend to make regular use of. In my experience as an environmental protection officer dealing with nuisance complaints, no business can predict the future, particularly in these difficult times. As a department, we often meet with licensees to discuss their proposal and are met with promises that they have no intention of running a noisy late night venue. This can change if the business model is not working or there is a change of ownership and the establishment becomes the noisy late night venue they promised they would not be. This can result in a lengthy nuisance investigation. In some cases, a noise abatement notice is served under the Environmental Protection Act 1990, followed with a review of the licence. We seek to avoid this situation, and in this instance, I've had this discussion with the applicant and voiced my concerns. Currently, it's operating as a busy cafe in a garden centre that is licensed until 1800, when the background levels are still high and we receive no complaints. I believe that the application to extend the licensable hours has not included sufficient measures to control the adverse effects of noise and disturbance to the neighbouring residential dwellings, and I therefore object to the extension of the hours from 1800 to 100, Monday to Sunday. But if the committee is minded to approve the application, we would ask that they consider an earlier close of business. Thank you.
Thank you, Miranda. Mark, did you wish to have anything to say here, Mark Hitchens? Or are you happy for Miranda to do?
Hi, Councillor. Sorry, I'm just sitting in
Right.
to listen at the moment. So Miranda's covered it all.
Okay, that's lovely. Thank you. Councillors, do you have any questions for the environmental officer, please? No hands up. Okay, thank you. Right, thank you, Miranda.
Chairman, sorry.
Right.
I was just wondering. The environmental protection officer there referred to the levels of noise which can be caused by people leaving, especially when exterior, secondary traffic noise is reduced because it's in the evening. I wonder if in her experience she's aware of any noise measurements that have been made that would enable some sort of quantification of her remark.
No, not off the top of my head, no.
Okay.
Mark might be able to comment, I don't know.
All right.
Okay, Mark.
Well,
no, sorry, wrong Mark.
Sorry.
Sorry, apologies, Mark. Mark Andrews, you wish to come in.
Thank you, Chair. It's Mark Andrews from Legal here. Just if the members have finished their questions, I've just got a couple of questions for Miranda, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so Miranda, I know it's not your job to put forward conditions or suggest hours or anything, so I'm not asking you to do that necessarily, but
thank you.
I'm kind of going to. But you said about possibly members considering lesser hours. In your professional opinion, in respect of this specific application, what would you consider more reasonable hours to be for such a premises?
It's a difficult one, as they've been operating as part of the garden centre and as essentially a daytime cafe. So you're introducing a completely sort of new sound source if they have weddings and parties there, because regulated entertainment just doesn't happen there. And because of its elevation and the hard tarmacked area that's below it, it's going to echo. I would say certainly anything beyond what is considered the sleep hours would be unacceptable.
Yeah, so what are the sleep hours, sorry?
Sleep hours are 2300 to 0700, but at the same time, if any of the premises in the area have got children, I'm not familiar whether they have or not, that even up till then would cause a disturbance.
Thank you. And the other question, I know in your representation you set out some possible, not necessarily conditions, but possible things for members to think about. For example, the outside area, amongst other matters. Are there, because members, the law says that members should only refuse an application if there are no conditions that they can attach to deal with the mischief. So would you say that in terms of these hours that are applied for, there are no conditions that can be attached in your professional opinion? And if there are conditions, either for these hours or for reduced hours, what conditions would you suggest? And again, if you don't feel it's appropriate to comment, because I'm kind of springing this upon you, that's fine. So you're welcome to just say it's not appropriate, it's too late. Thank you.
Certainly. Yeah,
sorry to interrupt. I do appreciate that it's up to the applicant to set these things out in their application and not for you to set them out on their behalf. But I'm just trying to help the members along.
Yeah, and I have had this discussion with the applicant and the applicant's representative, via email, and laid out my concerns in a conversation, suggesting they might want to bring back their closure hour. I was very honest with them, stating that as it stood, I would always object. So, and I didn't want to give them any expectation or false. I was very open with them. As it stands, I don't think closing at 0100, I don't think you can attach conditions because of the car park. If the hours were brought back, I think you could restrict perhaps the use of the outside area until a suitable structure with attenuation was put up. But I think it would have to be reduced because you would still have that patrons leaving at 1 o'clock. But if you brought the hour back, it would possibly cause less disturbance to residents, particularly if you restrict it to inside only.
Okay, thank you very much. Those are my questions. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Mark. I've got a question for Miranda as well. Sorry, Miranda. You say restricting to inside only. Would that be for the entire time, or would you have a restriction of time for outside? What I'm trying to say is if you...
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
So just a restriction, not for all time, because it operates currently quite happily up until 6 with patrons on the balcony. But I would say that as the evening went on, certainly as there is a direct line of sight from that balcony into the neighbouring dwelling, I could stand on it and look straight into the neighbour's garden. I would say it as it goes on, perhaps restrict it to indoor only then.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Right, where are we? Has any, Councillor Biscoe and Councillor Evans, have you got any further questions for the officer?
No, Chairman, not me.
You haven't. Okay, that's fine. Thank you, Miranda, for that. I've got no further questions. So now it's down to Mr. Morrell. If you would like to present a final submission to us, this is your chance.
Yes, just to clarify, the roof and walls to the exterior area have already landed and the installation is due to commence on the 5th of next month. So that should enclose that area so that noise doesn't penetrate through it. The line of sight into the neighbour's garden, I think if you've seen the pictures, it's a small area of driveway, hardly a garden area, but I'll leave you decide on that. And car doors do make a noise when they close, but it's hardly as if that's like I would class as a disturbance. And just to clarify, because I think a few people have struggled to understand, we're not a wet sales house. We don't even have draft beer, cider on tap. There's no intention to. I know you can say we're only saying this, but it is fact. We are a food house. We wouldn't encourage 10 lads say football supporters or rugby supporters that are rowdy or noisy to drink there. They would be paying a fortune for bottled beer when they'd be far better off in one of the wet sales drinking establishments that's already established in the village. I think apart from that, I'm struggling to add any further.
Okay, thank you. Miranda, did you have a question for the applicant? Oh, right, you just...
just relating to the photographs that were submitted, those photographs are sort of taken right on the corner, but when you come around the corner, and this may be covered with the structure, but which is not up yet, is that there is a direct line of sight to the neighbouring premises garden. I've stood there and I've seen it myself. You move around the corner, then yeah, of course you just get an angled view of their drive.
Okay, thank you, Miranda. Thank you for that clarification. Following that, Mr. Morrell, was there anything you wish to add to your submission?
I thought everything apart from that section of driveway that I photoed was covered by the fence. I was convinced it was. I thought that's the only bit you can see in.
Okay, thank you. We've got 2 sets of photographs here, so we'll be able to, and we also have the luxury, if we're fairly technologically minded, we can have a look at Google Earth as well to clarify. Thank you. Oh yes, I have one question for you before you go. You said you've got the exterior insulation enclosing the outside area?
Yes.
Is that a complete enclosure so it won't be outside?
I'm going to be honest, I've seen the roof first, or I've seen pictures of the roof firsthand. Basically, it's just so that it can be used in the winter rather than essentially it wouldn't be usable in the winter. So it's a roof that opens to allow the sun in, obviously during summer, and it literally revolves and closes to stop rain come through. There is the option to have walls going with it, but I think they're classed as a temporary structure, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. Thank you very much for that clarification. Right, unless there's anything else you'd like to add at this stage. Or...
Sorry, Chair, it's Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews from Legal here. Yeah, I didn't really follow that. So can I, just for clarification, will the outside area have walls then? By the sounds of it, it will. Yes. So it'll have walls and a roof, but the roof is retractable in the summer.
It's not retractable. It's if you can picture, say, a 3-foot flat metal bar, or like a slat, 3-inch wide maybe.
Right.
It revolves so that it opens one side, and you turn it the other way, and it totally makes it weatherproof.
Okay.
All right.
So,
okay, thank you.
For example, in summer it would be 99% open. Obviously, if rain comes, you click a button and it revolves back to enclose it through the roof.
So on a summer's evening, it may well be left open.
It may be, but come night time, I can't see it would be hot enough to leave it open. But again, common sense says if there's a lot of noise and we don't want to be disturbing neighbours, then obviously we would have it closed.
Okay, thank you.
Right, thank you very much, Mr. Morell. Right, so if that's everything, what we're going to do, are there any other points of clarification that anyone wishes to ask at this stage? Because we're now going to go into debate. So we'll go into private session and we will have a debate, and we'll let you know later on today, Mr. Morell and Miss Willis.
Yeah, no, that's all good. I can't think of anything. Can you think about anything, Amy? Sorry, I've spoken most. No, you're covered. Okay.
Thank you very much for coming today, and we'll let you get back to your work now. Thank you. So I think what we do now is, Angela, if you read out the privacy bit, please.
Yeah, I'll do that again. So it's moved that in accordance with the Local Government Act 1972, as amended, the press and public be excluded from the meeting on the grounds that they'd be likely to involve the disclosure of exempt information of the following description, namely information in respect of which a claim to legal professional privilege could be maintained in legal proceedings. Have I got a mover and a seconder?
I'll move it, Chairman.
Thank you, and I'll second.
Councillor Evans, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I'm for.
Okay, so that's unanimous. If you just bear with me, I'll check that the live stream has ended. Could the licensing officer, the applicant and the environmental protection officers please leave the meeting now? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Leaving now.
Okay, bye.
I'm just waiting for confirmation that the live stream is finished.